actually, I was auditioning at YRF for 3 months, and in fact, I was also in scenes giving cues for the male actors. I think that is what Manish Sharma and Adi sir saw. And I remember Shanu calling me, it was really late in the night. And when she told me, I couldn't believe it. It didn't sink. I just went and I told my parents, I said, they're asking me to be part of a film wherein I'm playing Shah Rukh's love interest. I said it, I didn't even wait for the reaction. I shut the door. And I said, wait, what is this really happening? I said hi and he shook my hand and he said, MashaAllah, so beautiful. I died. I said, Shah Rukh, I said, I'm beautiful. My confidence was next level. I was so charmed.
We had a longish conversation where we were talking about, where you were, I think, pissed off about something, about how movie reviewers are.
So I remember, in fact, during Fan, there were some reviews that mentioned me and some didn't. And I remember feeling bad, the ones that didn't write, you know. So, but I just feel like these are things you have to emotionally, mentally prepare yourself. Hi, I'm Shriya Pilgaonkar. Catch me on Sit with Hitlist with Mayank Shekhar and watch it only on midday.com.
Hello and welcome to Sit with Hitlist, our completely unscripted podcast and print series. This particular episode coincides with the OTT or the Hitlist OTT Awards 2022. And if you go through the nominations, you'll realize that the star of that show is the person on the screen in front of me, nominated twice for the toughest category there is, which is obviously the best lead actor female. Shriya Pilgaonkar on the screen with us. Thank you so much, Shriya, for joining us.
Thank you. And I was super excited about the double noms because that doesn't happen too often.
I know, right? So there is The Broken News, which is on Z5. There is Guilty Minds, which is, of course, on Amazon Prime Video, if I'm not mistaken. Now, these are, in some ways, also pretty similar roles in the sense that you're diving deep into a profession first, and the audience thinks, ki, haan, ye to journalist hai, ya ye to lawyer hai. Would that be correct to say?
You know, I actually was very aware of the fact that Radha from Broken News and Kashyap from Guilty Minds are similar, but they're actually not similar because as people, they're completely different. I mean, I'm assuming you've watched both.
Of course.
So Kashyap from
We don't do nomination without watching it.
I mean, look, well, I'm glad that was a test, Mayank, you passed. Like Guilty Minds, for example, Kashyap, for her, life is black and white. Her idea of right and wrong is very, very clear. And it's difficult to live like that, right? Because life is grey. It's not black and white, essentially. And as a person, she's very guarded and, you know, she's very, she doesn't want to do wrong. So she's genuinely
But you know, I have to say, like if you're a journalist, for instance, at least in terms of your job, your life would have to be right or wrong. Because this is a wrong story. And this is the correct story.
No,
right?
but Kashyap, in Kashyap's context, from Guilty Minds, this was her. But Radha, on the other hand, the news reporter, she wants to walk on the path of like truth and justice, but she's okay to manipulate her way to
That's
get
what I'm
things
saying.
done.
So both characters are complex in
They're
that sense.
actually very complex, but somewhere they want to stand for truth, and that is their fight. But the personalities are different, and I think, to be very honest, initially I did wonder. I said, okay, am I going to get stereotyped subtly as the good girl, you know, who was like fighting for the right? How is it going to be? But I took it up as a challenge, because if I could create both these worlds and both these people in a very distinct manner, then I think as an actor, we all say constantly, right, we want a challenge. So that was my challenge.
No, fair enough. And also I have to say, and which is true for most of our lives, right? I mean, I am interviewing you because you're an actor, and you step out of this room and everyone you will meet on the way to eventually when your day ends. Everyone knows you as an actor, and some level, we all are our professions too, right? I mean, that's what we live for most of the day when we wake up in the morning and then finish the day. I mean, that's what you're doing in both these parts as well?
Yes, and I think...
You are a lawyer.
I'm a lawyer.
Or a reporter.
Yeah, and you know, when I approach playing a profession, like for example, even in Taza Khabar, I'm a sex worker.
Yes.
You're not seeing me as a lawyer or reporter constantly in the show, right? You're not seeing my process. You don't know how much I've studied. You don't know what my backstory is. But Mayank, the way I'm holding my papers, the way I'm standing in court, the way as a reporter, I am perhaps just listening, talking to my boss. These everyday small habits are what make me that person. So if I am a homemaker, if I'm playing a homemaker tomorrow, जिस तरह से मैं चाय बनाती हूँ is very important, and that awkwardness will be seen if I don't make tea at home.
Right.
So I think the mundaneness,
the swiftness, right?
Everyday small things are what make the profession. So for me, it's not so much about being pit-pat with my lines as a lawyer. That's the easy part. The lines are the easy part. But I think those in-between moments of just being effortless with it, that requires effort which you can't show.
Correct.
So that is what it is for me. That's how I look at it. So if I give you an example, in Taza Khabar, you don't see Madhu's life as a sex worker in the brothel too much. In fact, you see her how she's outside. I was wondering how, if I have, say, 2 scenes in the first episode, how do I get the audience to completely surrender to the fact that after seeing me as a lawyer news reporter, now here I am as a sex worker, Madhu, right? I realized it has to be in the way I am, maybe the way I'm sitting, the way I am eating, the way I am drinking, the way I'm talking.
So there is a certain way that you will sit when you are a lawyer.
Yes.
What would that be?
So as Kashyap, not just lawyer, but as Kashyap.
As Kashyap, of course.
So
that particular
Kashyap
lawyer
would be very upright. She's listening. She has a lot of empathy. So Kashyap would be listening. She'd be this.
Right.
This is Kashyap. You know?
Because I'm the client?
Yes, and she has a lot of empathy. So she wants to have a personal touch. So she's going to make you feel like she's listening and she's here. Radha is a bit like, okay, tell me what it is. You know, Radha.
I'm going to write this story.
Yeah, Radha is a bit, okay, tell me more. And Madhu will be like this, boss. So that's very interesting for me. I love playing with body language to develop a character because, see, not often, Mayank, are you going to get as much meat perhaps as I did in Guilty Minds and Broken News, where I'm headlining projects. Sometimes, like in Taza Khabar, it's Vasya's story, it's Bhuvan's story. I'm a principal character in it, but I have to create my world and my graph through bits and pieces.
Right.
So that becomes an even
I get you. Like
more
even if you show up for 5 minutes, there was a world before those 5 minutes and there's a world after those 5 minutes. So I find you believable because you didn't just like come for this part.
And that is actually the most exciting part of being an actor. And according to me, when I've seen the greatest, the stalwarts, you know, Irfan Khan Saab, you see him, we've seen him on screen. और उस एक scene पे you know the before and after. You feel that world. So for me, the prep is creating that world, which I really enjoy. And especially like everybody, you know, makes fun of me saying, now what profession is left? Because I mean, I'm like, no, there are enough people in that profession. Tomorrow, maybe if I get to
and
another
every
lawyer,
journalist is not the same, every lawyer is not the same.
And this is something I was very conscious of because I mean, by that logic, you've seen all of it. You've seen the lawyers, you've seen the news reporters. So the writing of that person plays a huge part. So I want people to remember Kashyap. And today, when I get messages, I get DMs from aspiring lawyers, it's not that, oh, I'm inspired to do this, that. They're inspired by Kashyap as a person. That to me is the greatest compliment.
I agree with you. And you know, I have to say, we've been seeing courtroom dramas all our lives, right? There was something about Guilty Minds where it felt very lived in as an experience. Could it also have to do with the fact that the creator of that show knows that world so well? Shanti Bhushan's daughter. Shanti Bhushan
He passed away, unfortunately.
Very recently. You know, I had no idea about this until I met Kulbhushan Kharbanda, okay?
You didn't know before you watched the show?
No, I did not know who was the creator and how have they got this world right. And Kulbhushan Kharbanda randomly tells me, अच्छा एक मेरी show आई है, वो Guilty Minds, and वो मुझे phone करते रहते हैं, Shanti Bhushan. You used to keep calling him up because he's playing Shanti Bhushan in that show, who's India's law minister.
He's not playing him.
But at least Shanti Bhushan believes that he is. Right? So keeps calling him up. And you know how Kulbhushan Kharbanda is? He couldn't care less, na? I said, हाँ वो phone करते रहते हैं, कि बार-बार देखते रहते हैं मुझे. I'm like, wow, so this show has come from that world. They know that world.
And Shefali, I mean,
Shefali Bhushan, the creator.
Shefali Bhushan, she's not a lawyer herself, but her brother's a lawyer. She's seen lawyers. Yes, so she's seen that world. So to maintain that authentic flavor was very, very important to her. And I mean, kudos to everyone from the art team to the costumes, because if you see, it's not the usual set. It looks lived in, like you said. The way the files are, kept, the way the judges were directed or even cast. So, in fact, even if I was not part of Guilty Minds, as a viewer, there's so much that I watched in the show, which I mean, I was not part of everything, right?
Yeah,
so which I'm watching, and I could appreciate because the detailing is fantastic. And this was actually brought to my attention by a lot of eminent lawyers who watched it. And that is the first feedback they gave us, that it looked very real. So if you have to make a mark, you have to make a mark this way. With all humility, I can say this, that Guilty Minds, according to me, is one of the best courtroom dramas to come from India.
Absolutely, I would agree with you.
So in terms of the just how rooted and
real, right? Yeah, realistic. Well, real may be a wrong word. It's not necessarily a good thing to be real, but to be realistic, to be believable, to be authentic in that sense. I think Court, of course, was an amazing film. I'm sure you've seen Court.
I love the film Court.
Yes.
In fact, Chaitanya Tamani is one of the people I've wanted to work with. Even The Disciple. I mean, what a wonderful voice, what a fantastic filmmaker. And to me, Court is one of the finest. Actually, I'll say it is the finest in terms of, to come from India. I mean, I wouldn't say greatest film because there are so many amazing films, but it was so good. For me, Guilty Minds, or playing Kashaf's character, it's the first time I got that much time to really just flow and surrender myself to something. And we shot it over 2 years, COVID, before COVID, after COVID. I mean, it takes a toll on you, right? Because you have so much riding on something. And I remember during a hectic schedule in Mumbai, episode 3, the Jalna case. To remind you, I was fighting for the rights of the people who wanted the shutdown of the power plant, right? The farmers. And Varun's character, Deepak.
You go to the village, right?
And we go to the village, and he was talking on behalf of the corporates, saying that this is what it is. And both had valid points. And it was a very hectic day. I mean, our rehearsals were done way before, so the lines weren't an issue. So we would take these really long takes, like a play. And it was towards the end of the day, and I remember that particular scene where Kashaf is giving her monologue in the end, and she talks about that at the cost of what is all of this? Because, you have women walking 8 kilometers for water, and she talks about farmers. Mayank, I don't know what happened to me. I've never experienced this as an actor. Something came over me and I could feel like I'm breaking down, but I thought to myself, and I don't know if I was breaking down as Shriya or Kashaf, because I felt it so much, because the reality of the situation hit me. I don't know if as Kashaf or Shriya, I don't know. It hit me, and the director, I sat, cut, and I just broke down in Sugandha's arms. I broke down. My director let me be. I cried. They just let me be. And then we did one more take for technical reasons. But that was very special for Varun and I both, because we both felt it. And sometimes when we experience this magic as actors, where you are so lost in something, where it takes over you, it consumes you, those are, those incredible moments. So which is why I said that my journey with Guilty Minds has been much more personal. In fact, a week, I think, before release, or a couple of days before release, I wrote a letter to myself.
Okay.
And I
do you
wrote,
do that often?
I write a lot. I write letters to people. I usually write like a letter to myself end of every year, just as a thing about what I feel, right? Like I journal and stuff.
Yeah.
But I wrote this because as a person, as an actor, I like to operate with a sense of attachment. By that I mean that I'm prepared that no matter how hard I have worked, I don't know the destiny of the project. I don't know how it's going to be received.
Don't get too attached.
Don't get too attached. Enjoy the journey. Let it go. I mean, every actor will tell you that these are things you have to learn. It's not always easy, but that's how you keep yourself going, right? But I knew how much I felt for Kashaf and Guilty Minds, and I wrote a letter to myself saying, no matter what, you're going to be proud of what you did. No matter what the reviews are, no matter, what the numbers are, just be happy that it's coming out. It's releasing. And
and you got to express yourself.
And I just expressed myself, and for me that was just a way of saying, okay, brace yourself, no matter what, you've loved it, you've learned so much as an actor, you've grown so much in the process. And well, luckily for me, the critics and the audience loved it. But that was important for me. And I was safeguarding myself a little bit, because, there are some projects in an actor's journey they're going to be more emotionally attached to. I mean, you love everything, but just some things. So these are little ways in which, you just
so like, for instance, when you're playing a journalist, I mean, here, of course, you had a creator who's from that world, has seen it so closely. you went to St. Xavier's College. I'm sure you had friends who actually became journalists thereafter. Did you have friends like that?
Yes.
Who joined the profession?
Yes, a lot of friends. And actually more than more than following them or spending a day with them, I'm always curious to know what motivates you. If you're stuck in a situation where your ethics come into play and you have to make a difficult choice, what would you do? I'm curious. I mean, if you're someone, say, who has certain morals, and you have promised yourself that you're going to follow a certain path in your profession, but if you're faced with a difficult choice, what would you do? These are the questions I threw at them, because
so you met them?
I just chatted with them.
Who all did you meet?
So there were a couple of friends.
Anybody I would know?
They're not journalists right now.
Okay,
they were pursuing, at that point they were studying journalism and stuff like that. So they're not really doing it right now.
There's no money in it and they left.
So, and another thing that I was very conscious of is the fact that I knew that, like, for example, I know a lot of friends, like, for example, Janice Sequeira, who used to be, she's right now like a content creator, etc. She was an ex-journalist. So when she watched the show, she had a lot of interesting things to say. So I had some journalist friends who gave me that feedback, or people who work in their field.
I remember we were in that panel discussion, right? Yes. There were a bunch of journalists. There was you, Sonali Bendre. There was also feedback in some.
But that was before.
This was before we'd seen the show. That's true. I wish we'd done it after the show.
That would have been fun. Yeah. But in fact, a couple of people, I think Rudrani was on the panel. She wrote to me after watching it, because there are a lot of things that you'll be able to relate to. Yes. We all have those dilemmas wherein you question yourself as a person, because we all have this idea about who we are as people, and sometimes life throws circumstances at you which make you wonder, okay, who am I? But you don't necessarily have to judge yourself every time, because sometimes the situation demands a certain
and you do you,
there's no judgment.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Yeah.
And this entire concept of not judging your characters is something that I think is very, very important.
Of course, we're talking about profession at this point, and here I want to segue into your own life in terms of what you wanted to be, and the sense I get from whatever little I've read, and I have to say, it's all there, out there. And
a lot of it is not true information, but
okay. So
let's see what you know. Your research.
Let's just do a checklist of stuff that is true or not. You were a high-performing swimmer in the sense of you would have been a professional swimmer if you were not an actor. True?
In the first phase of my life, perhaps, but I stopped by the time I was 14. So the age of 3/4 to 12, 13, 14 is when, like, good 10 years.
So you don't mean in terms of a water baby, because so many are.
I was.
You mean like literally like...
That was my life.
Okay.
We would wake up at 5 in the morning, go train, go to school. Had permission to come late.
In Mumbai?
In Mumbai. Yeah. After school, go back to train. And my parents really, especially my mom, who would, pick me up, drop me, go to work, come back. The life of a sportsman is...
It's crazy.
It's not 100%. It's 1000% effort you need to put. Because your first and second place difference is a mini microsecond, even as a swimmer. So I was a Maharashtra state level swimmer, so that's a different life. And to be honest, people find it very hard to believe, because a typical idea of a celebrity actor child is that bachpan se everybody wants to act. But that was not the case, because if that was the case, a lot of things would have been different for me. I was not even the kid who would obsess over myself in front of the mirror. And in fact, the biggest joke is when my mother observed that, I was doing theatre, and she realized that, okay, I'm like interested in acting. The first thing she's come to me and said, Shriya, you realize you're going to have to now get ready, right? Because that effort, you know what I'm saying?
Right. You're not one of those. In general, in life.
Now I enjoy it. But I think those instincts weren't really there, back then.
So you were a sports person, essentially.
Yes, absolutely.
And at what point did you think that's not what you're going to pursue any further?
So, my coach Sandeep Devgikar passed away. I used to train at Otters. And after he passed away, and I also felt like I had made the most of it. And I felt like I wanted to do other things. And in fact, it was my mother who said to me that, look, even if you think even a little bit that this is not exciting you, let's not do it, because there's no point.
Right.
The focus, the dedication is way too much. And I was ready. I got the most out of it. Hopefully some of it still remains, but
You could play a swimmer for sure.
I'm waiting. I'm wondering
sure
what
this is gonna happen.
biopics of swimmers
वो तो
are
गया
waiting to happen.
biopic, for sure. मतलब play that character.
अभी तो
You
कुछ
know?
character कर
हाँ,
लेते हैं.
हाँ.
In fact, I remember reading that Ram Madhvani's team was. I vaguely remember reading that there was a film, underwater film, they were looking at doing, and I read it, and I immediately reached out to him saying, I don't know at what stage this film is, but keep in mind that hey, I can hold my breath underwater.
Okay, another thing that I read about you in terms of, I mean, in any case, it seemed to me, whatever I was reading, that you're one of those overachiever type kids. Who does everything. Were you coming first in class also?
Not first, second.
Second is
third.
not bad.
Second, third.
Second, third plus swimmer.
But how is that overachieving?
I mean, first and second in a class of 50 is, they're two overachievers. That's first and second, right? Also sports. But I mean, also that you wanted to join civil services at some point.
Join civil services in the sense, so that was actually just a thought much later. Before that, I mean, I had already started like training as a Kathak dancer. In fact, that led to my, me being
So Kathak
drawn.
dancer also, swimming, dancing.
But I'm not still
second in class. Yeah.
Second in class, swimming, dancing. But I was also performing in school and college and debates. I mean, I remember I always felt like I had a performer's instinct because I was very comfortable on stage. Even if it wasn't like your drama, if it's elocutions and stuff, I used to really enjoy it. I liked an audience. At home.
That's a personality type,
That's
right?
a personality
Yeah.
type, maybe. And in fact, the funny part is that the first time I ever did a play was in the 4th grade, and the play was called Dilnas and the Chocolate Cake. And the only reason I did the play is because we would rehearse with real chocolate cake. So that was my motivation. It was not acting or anything. So eventually, when Kathak happened, it was, again, that was not like a profession. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was at St. Xavier's, I felt like my peers around me had clarity. They all were working towards something. And I felt like I was all over the place. But that didn't make me very insecure because I felt like we're very trained to think that there's a certain time that we have to have one word answer for what we want to do in life. And I didn't look at my life like that. And of course, maybe it's a position of privilege.
Of course.
But my parents always encouraged me, just explore and you'll know what you want to do.
How long did you flirt with the idea of becoming a civil servant? It's a very tough exam. Even I've thought of it once in college. I'm like, wow, this is like too many books just to read all day and all night for months. And if you flunk it, you can't use that information anywhere else.
So this happened because I think once my grandfather, mom and I think this conversation just came up, and I actually, now you're going to call me a nerd, which is okay. I like to study. I like reading. I like that. But
Science is a liberal arts.
Liberal arts, but in science it would just perhaps be biology, not really physics or chemistry. I'm not like very good at math, etc. But with civil services, of course, I knew it was not just I like to study, let's do it. No, it's a different level of commitment. But I knew it was not something I would be cut out for. But before that, I had applied to Columbia for a course in language literacy and media. That was the course. And I got accepted.
Columbia University, not the country Columbia.
No, Columbia University. Yes, Mayank, not the country Columbia. But I didn't go. I didn't accept it.
Okay. This is for masters or undergrad?
No, masters.
Okay.
I didn't accept it because I felt like I was chickening out from actually figuring out what I want to do in life.
Interesting.
And
which is so true for a lot of people,
which is
right?
true.
Yeah.
And not to say if I would have gone, the experience would have been amazing and I would have learnt a lot. But now I can't assume, what that life would have been like.
Yeah.
But I just felt like I needed to be uncomfortable here. And everybody was really surprised as to why I'm not going. And I said, no, I feel like I need to just be here, even if it means being lost. I need to just be lost for a while to really understand what it is that I want to do. So I didn't go. And then again, this idea of civil services was vague. It was not like a long discussion. It went. And then very organically, one day at FTII, I did a film appreciation course, the 3-month course that they have.
Yeah, the whole world does. It's a fascinating course.
It's very exciting. And I met some wonderful people there. And one of my friends there, Karan Shetty, he said that I'm doing a 10-minute play at the NCPA, Short and Sweet Festival. And I want someone who can sing, dance, act. And it's just 10 minutes. Will you do it? I said, yeah. He said, you have to audition. I said, okay, I'll audition. I was like, okay, fine, I'll audition, whatever.
you never asked, do you know who I am?
I'm not that person. I've never said that. In fact, I mean, when Shah Rukh enters a room, he introduces himself. So this is not about who I am.
Yeah,
I
kidding,
never
yeah, of course.
assume.
Yeah.
But I auditioned for him, and we ended up doing it. And the actor Priyanshu Penuli and I,
Yes.
him and I were part of that play. And for those 10 minutes, for that 10-minute play, I have rehearsed for a month. And my parents were like, what's going on? Suddenly, matlab ye kahan se kya ho raha hai? And my father, I think in his mind, he knew ki this is what I'm meant to do. But my mother, I feel like initially she was like, oh, come on, how predictable.
इतना स्विमिंग क्लास कराया, बाप ले देके इधर ही वापस कथक को तक सब कुछ भी हो गया.
क्या सपने थे. But you know, Kathak, in Kathak, Abhinay is a very important part. So that somewhere the ada,
Every Bollywood actor has learned Kathak.
There's a reason for it. वो एक जो नज़ाकत होती है कथक में, it's very subtle, it's light. The expressions are very close to reality, I would say. So that made me feel like I wanted to do it. And sometimes I've actually thought about it. Did I ever want to become an actor? Did I not? But the truth is no. That was not something I was actually working towards. What I was sure is that I'd love to tell stories, I'd love to direct, I'd love to produce. So that was
You would be in the performing arts somewhere or the other. That you were
be
sure
part
about.
of stories,
Yeah.
you know, because I feel like I like a film set. I like that energy exchange. I like what happens when a story moves from text to a shoot to the edit. Just that transformation is
And
so
then the
beautiful.
audience.
And then the audience,
Yeah.
how it's received. So somewhere I knew I would perhaps be connected to it, but it all happened very, very organically. Very, very organically.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that, right? In the sense that your dad, for instance, I mean, everyone knows your dad in this country.
More than
You know,
60 years of experience.
Yeah.
60 years in the industry.
And I mean, for those who are very young, I can say the way to define your dad, I think, in my head, to someone who doesn't know anything about the movies is, I mean, or of that era, is that he is the original Prem.
Yeah.
He is the original Prem of Rajshri.
Yeah.
What became, you know, later Salman Khan's character, that's what Sachin played in Nadia Ke Paar, right? And
But even later, Stutu Meme, the show that many people know of as a director, also. So he donned many hats. He's still acting. He's writing his next film, and he's like given some of the biggest hits in the Marathi film industry as a director. So for me, I have an example in my house who's donned different hats as an actor, director, producer, which is why I didn't judge myself when I was exploring different things.
Right.
Because I felt like, you know, I can hopefully.
do you look up to him? Is he your icon?
Oh my God, I look up to both my parents, and for me, more than anything else, I look up to them as people, because the goodwill they have, you can't just earn it. You know, it's not everybody gets that goodwill, and it's just because of the grace with which they carry themselves.
Yeah, I remember being at your dad's 60th birthday, was it? I think Sachin Tendulkar was also there.
Yes,
It was like a massive party. You could tell, like, he's really earned that goodwill in this town. Like, it's just,
And he still has that desire, that attitude of learning. I mean, imagine, right? He won his first national award at the age of 5 for his Marathi film Ha Maza Marga Ekla. You know, Nehru ji has given him a rose and that award. His life and learning has been on set.
what's his story? Like, how did he get into performing arts or the
So
films?
my grandfather, Shriya Pilgaonkar, I never had the opportunity to meet him, but he was a producer as well. And then when this film casting was happening, someone said that Sachin want to go, and Dad was a huge fan of Shami Kapoor, so he would like dance too. But born actor. Because that rhythm was there, you know. Eventually, when my parents won Nach Baliye, it was such a, you know, everyone was rooting, you know, for them. So his life learning has been on set. I mean, his experiences, everyone with like from Sanjeev Kumar to, you know, Dilip Kumar Saab to his own sort of films has been, I can't even tell you the stories he has to share. I mean, that's a film school.
What's the coolest story that you can remember that your dad may have told you?
You know, he's such a good narrator that I will never ruin his stories by narrating them. I'm a terrible narrator. My mother has to stop me at parties if I have to say something. She says, wait, you don't narrate anything, because your excitement of the end will give away. But yeah, someday we
See,
should
your
speak to
punchline
my
only
father.
happens in the beginning.
I'm too excited. So मेरे चेहरे पे वो पता चल जाता है. But you should chat with him.
No, of course. I think we'll leave Sachin's stories to Sachin.
Absolutely.
Of course,
but fun fact for you. Fun fact for you. In spite of like doing more than like 150 films in his life, one thing my father said he always wanted to play, and even in real life be, if not an actor, was a lawyer. So when Guilty Minds, the script came my way and I said to him, I'm reading something fantastic, he was very excited. And I was nervous because I wanted him to see it and he loved it.
Yeah.
So sometimes parents also, you know, it's fun for them when I get to do something perhaps that they haven't so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he's played a lawyer.
He hasn't played a lawyer.
He hasn't.
But even in life, he loves law. Like his understanding of like everything from contracts to law is very, very good. You know, he goes through my contracts.
Helps you.
It helps me. It helps me.
But you know, it's also your mom, right? Also an actor. How different are they from each other as actors, according to you, in terms of their approach to the craft?
My mother she's more internal.
Shriya Pilgaonkar.
Shriya Pilgaonkar, yes. She's more internal as an actor. I can't really label them or define them, but I would say, you know, that star quality, like my dad's a star. He's much more out there and, you know, just sort of...
He's Rashi ka prem
Hanji,
hai.
exactly.
You know?
तो वो अलग school है, you know. My mother, who I genuinely think is one of the finest actors, I mean, she's amazing. So she has, for her, I would say, is very detached from the profession. She loves what she does, but she's not obsessive about it, you know. She enjoys it, she lets it go. She doesn't overthink. She's not someone who'll watch her work. Dad and I will watch our own work, we'll critique. My mother won't overly think about her work. So that's just like a...
She has a banker's approach, maybe. Kaam ho gaya, ab kuch aur karo. And whereas you will live that life 24 hours a day.
Exactly. So in the sense, I might stress more, I might be much more, you know, invested. Like my mom will do her job, enjoy
I
it.
said banker's approach.
Yeah, I let it go. Hello.
You know,
So it's different, which is why it's really fun for me. I mean, not just as parents, but when, you know, when we're discussing like work or when I get them to watch my things, I get very interesting feedback from it. You know, like I remember before Mirzapur, somebody said to me that, listen, you know, you're playing a girl from UP, so just, you know, make sure that ऐसा नहीं लगना चाहिए कोई Maharashtrian play कर रहा है. I said, क्यों? Why are you saying that? Do I have an accent or something? Is that what you mean? I wasn't sure. But because the person said that to me, and also because my father is very good, उनकी ज़बान बहुत साफ है. मतलब his Urdu he learned from Meena Kumari ji. So
oh really?
Yes, his Urdu is incredible. His Hindi, in English, everything, Marathi. So he's always told me that always work on that particular language or dialect very well, no matter what it is. If it requires you to speak in a harsh way, do that. But don't ever, you know, compromise on that. So for Mirzapur, I sat with Puneet Krishna writers, and I've really troubled him because I said that when people watch it, they should think that I am a Sharma from there, not a Pilgaonkar from Maharashtra. And eventually, there were a couple of people who were very surprised to know that I am a Pilgaonkar. They didn't know. You know, somebody asked my father, "Acha, aap Sweetie Gupta ke papa hai, hame pata nahi tha." That was a compliment to me. So even today, if it's like with Kashaf also very halka, her Hindi was very different, or with Madhu, I try to do that. I don't know how much I succeed with it, but that effort is always there. And with my mom, what I take is body language. So these are things that I like to like.
In what sense?
The importance of body language.
You see that in her performances.
I feel very much so. So that is something that even in terms of the feedback that she might give me when she's watching something, it'll be about, you know, things.
Interesting you say that. I mean, between voice and body, you're sorted as an actor, aren't you?
Lines are the last thing. Lines are the absolute last thing.
So, you know, for instance, they will go to the great Sachin and say, "Arey, aap Sweetie Gupta ke pitaji hai," right? That could also be because Sachin did not keep Pilgaonkar as a screen name. Yeah. He just was Sachin.
Because also, Master Sachin tha na, as a baby.
So he was a child actor. And from
hence wo Sachin ban gaya. Yeah.
Right. So when did that happen to you when you were starting out, when you were meeting people? Did they know you as his daughter already, or?
A lot of people already did.
Yeah, because also known that that's his last name, right?
Of course. And
it's not like Govinda, nobody knows, but people do know it's Govinda Ahuja.
Ahuja, right.
Yeah.
The thing is, I never played that card. So I was very aware that my first Hindi film is not going to be a typical launchpad fan. Of course, with Shah Rukh Khan, I wanted to have that experience. Who wouldn't? But I was very aware. I had a reality check that it's not going to be that big debut. But I didn't want to lose out on that opportunity. But all the hustling I have done has not been via my parents. So it's not like phone calls were made. And it was, today what I notice is the actors, they are prepared. I mean, they are packed, they are groomed, they are prepared for 2 years. They are made into stars before their first film comes out. That's a
Instagram also helps, right?
Instagram helps.
Yeah.
At that point,
a lot of star kids are already stars.
Exactly. The branding, all of that. That's another approach to it.
Yeah.
So at that point, my approach was not that. And I don't even think I was overly obsessing or overthinking it. I don't know why, but I was not overthinking it. Or my ambition was not that I need to be on the cover of a magazine first. What I felt was that I just want to do good work, and I don't want to ever put my parents in a position wherein I have to depend on them for anything. Of course, if I needed something, they were there. They knew people if I had to meet somebody. But eventually, everything I've got has been through auditions, Mayank. Everything. Now finally in the past 2 years, I'm in a position of choice. I mean, I've been in a position of choice, but good choice.
Sure.
Right? But people will always assume, because they'll always feel it was a little less difficult.
Most people I have on this series, they are much older and they don't even remember their first whatever, right?
Yeah.
In your case, of course, you are probably the youngest we've had on this series.
Really?
Yeah. So the first time you appeared on screen, am I right? It would be
an adult?
No, as a child. Was it Tutu Main, the TV series?
The first time, if you really want to say first time was I think in one of my dad's films. I was like a little baby after I was born.
Film.
My mom, one small cut.
Okay.
So I still have that. One person was just holding me, and there
you
was
have a picture
film.
of that? Have you framed it?
No, not framed it and all. And also, Dad had directed a film called "Aisi Bhi Kya Jaldi Hai." उसमें भी एक montage.
No, which was the first one?
The name I don't remember which of his films.
How can you not remember?
There are so many, 21 films he's directed. How will I remember which one? It was just a montage. But I don't count that. I think as a dialogue, it had to be "Tu Tu Main Main," where I just come and say, "Auntie, mummy ne achar manga hai." And I was a boy because I
the first time you appeared on screen, you played a boy, which in the history of cinema is the reversal. Because back in the day, there were actually boys who played women on screen. Yeah.
But a lot of people have.
Why couldn't you just be a girl in that show? Why did it need to be a boy?
I mean, I had a boy cut or whatever, and I honestly owned no frocks and stuff, like just shorts and all of that.
We can find this on YouTube?
No.
No? You don't think it exists? I'm sure it exists, right?
Not looking for it, so I don't know.
I think people who are watching this are going to look at.
Please don't look for it.
I remember Tutu Main Main as that. I think it started with Tutu Main Main.
Then action, all of that.
Yeah.
But eventually, that was, a lot of people think I was a child actor, but I wasn't a child actor. I mean, just doing one random cameo doesn't make you an actor. So the first proper thing would have to be my first Marathi film that I did with Dad, Ekulti Ek. That was the first proper acting gig, I would say.
Right. For which you won an award, the Maharashtra State Award for it. So then kind of cemented the fact that you're going to be an actor now.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I didn't, it was wonderful, but I still felt like, the big bad world of the Hindi film industry, I had to, sort of go into there and see. See, I was not overthinking this.
Right. You didn't have like a career path.
I was just going with the flow at that point, and I think it was only after my first Hindi film wherein I realized that, okay, I need to sort of have concrete goals.
Before that, you'd done a French film, a French production, if I'm not mistaken, and this is something I googled right before I met you. It's by Claude Lelouch. Claude Lelouch is one of the greatest filmmakers ever.
Starring Jean Dujardin.
Jean Dujardin we'll get to later. Yes. But, Claude Lelouch made A Man and a Woman back in the late 60s, which is considered the greatest romantic drama ever, right?
And luckily I'd watched it before.
You'd seen it,
yes.
yeah.
So
because you're one of those film appreciation types.
I'm that person that at Mami would go every day, watch 5 films till my eyes are burning. I was that person. I love watching all kinds of films. So luckily I'd watched it, and in fact it was at a workshop that the casting director, she saw me and she said, I'm auditioning for this. And in school I used to learn French, like basic French, so not that I had to speak French in this, but I was playing an actor in a film within the film. That was the concept. And the coincidence is that, and I've mentioned this before once, but I'll share this with you, that at the Mumbai Film Festival, I was watching the film The Artist, right? This was before I became an actor.
Right.
And I was watching...
And I'm presuming before The Artist became that big.
Yes.
You know, after all the Oscars.
Yes, it hadn't won the Oscar or
Yeah.
anything like that. And I watched the film, everybody gave it a standing ovation. And I just felt like, I felt a connect with Jean Dujardin. And I said, this is really odd. Why do I feel like I know him? It's really weird. Like, I'm really drawn to him. I mean, of course, he's incredibly attractive. That's different.
Sure, yeah.
But in general, I came back and I mentioned this at home, saying that it's really odd. And I also wrote it in my diary, whatever, everyday thing, that I felt like weirdly drawn to this person. Like, I felt like I know him. Cut to, this French film audition comes my way. And I give the audition. And I was told that Jean Dujardin is the actor in the film. And it all made sense.
We have to see this film though.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to see it. What is it called?
Pluyun. He and she is the...
Pardon your French, but I have no idea what you just said.
So he and she, basically
He and she.
him and her, he and she, whatever.
Claude he and she.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a road trip film in India, and I have a small part in it. In fact, Kalki also has a cameo in it, and I'm playing an Indian actor in a film within the film.
Like a Bollywood actor?
Yes.
Okay.
So more than dialogues or anything, it's very, it's just performing, and I mean, you have to watch it.
So you basically played a Bollywood actor even before you became one.
Exactly.
You only play professions.
What are these? I mean, yeah, it's good, no? It's exciting.
amazing.
It's exciting. But I remember then that I was very excited, and it was also very encouraging for me, because I knew that no matter what profession I'd be in, I want to do it at a global level. So no matter what I would do, I knew that it would just not be in India that I would do it. So even when I started acting, I was very clear that I would want to explore work internationally also. Even before I started my Marathi film, this clarity was there. So hence, doing the French film for me was a step in that direction to just work with different people.
Yeah, to work in an international production.
Yeah, and it was incredible to just, observe how this 80-plus gentleman is just not sitting. My director would not sit. He would just be so active, and this passion, it was just pure passion, and that was exciting to see. To see how language never comes in the way. That was not a bad... The language of cinema is universal, right? So even if the Indian crew perhaps was not understanding everything that the French crew was saying, always, we were on the same page still. So in fact, I went for the premiere as well, in Paris, and it was incredible. We experienced all of that in spite of playing a small part. It was at Cannes as well.
Yeah.
So that was a wonderful experience. And there was one particular day wherein my day shift was with Jean Dujardin on this film.
Yeah, right.
And the night shift was with Shah Rukh on Fan.
Wow.
The best day of my life.
That's crazy. That's absolutely nuts. Right? I have to say this to you. So the first time I watched you on screen was obviously Fan, right? And I kept looking at you. I'm like, I have met this person somewhere before. Okay? And I kept thinking, where? And it came back to me. This was at a party of the Pune Literature Festival. Okay?
Yeah.
And like we're all drinking and whatever. I met you there.
Yes.
We had a longish conversation where we were talking about, where you were, I think, pissed off about something, about how movie reviewers are. For those who are watching this and don't know what I do for a living, I write movie reviews for a living. I've been doing it for almost 2 decades now.
I was pissed off.
You were really
and I
pissed
was
off.
vocal about it to you.
Absolutely.
But I knew you were a movie reviewer.
Yeah. And so I was trying to explain to you how I think it's a very low form of writing.
Right.
Because there is no empathy in it.
Right.
People who write film reviews are bad writers, essentially.
I mean, not everybody.
No, I'm saying that was a conversation.
Okay, all right.
Now that's not what we are debating here,
Okay.
right? But it did. But I remember this. I remember that night. I remember this conversation. Okay, and then of course I remembered your face when I saw you in Fan for the first time.
Saying now this girl is not
Was
going
that
to. Now she's not going to say anything against critics.
But but I did realize that you come from the family of films. And it is a pitfall of that profession that there are too many people who judge you for what you do on screen. I mean, at that time, and this is before, of course, many years before you became an actor and certainly a Bollywood actor. But it's much more now.
Yeah.
Like anything you do on screen, literally everyone starts tweeting or starts putting. Is that something you've come to terms with? How's that part of the profession been for you?
It's part of the job.
Okay.
It's part of the job.
That's probably also because you're not getting those trashy reviews.
No, but
you're not being.
Hey, yes, I mean, well, it's a good thing.
You're getting good reviews.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
No, but let me tell you, it's not that. Sometimes not being written about can also be hurtful, right? So it's not just
Indifference
that.
is the worst.
Indifference
You'd
is
rather
the
have someone
worst.
hate on you than
Exactly.
say nothing about you in that particular film.
So I remember, in fact, during Fan, there were some reviews that mentioned me and some didn't. And I remember feeling bad. The ones that didn't write, you know. So, but I just feel like these are things you have to emotionally, mentally prepare yourself for. And this is where somewhere the grounding or the knowledge and the experience of my parents comes into play, wherein they had told me that these are things you have to do. You have to prepare yourself for these things, but you can never prepare yourself enough. And especially today with social media,
they didn't have
you
social
can't.
media.
No, not at all. Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
With social media, you can't. I admit that I am a little careful. I can't be as free or vocal as I would like to about things. It's just because you don't want that attention in that way. People who want it, you identify the way people speak, you know, who wants attention for what. But that's not the attention I want, so I prefer keeping it low-key, to be honest with you. I guess a sign of true success is when you perhaps don't give a damn at all. I am not that person who doesn't give a damn, at least not right now. I do give a damn. Also because I don't want anything to stress my family out also, because I know it'll affect them, right? So, you just have to, I guess, have a little bit of a thick skin. Actually not little, a very thick skin, right? A lot. I remember, in fact, recently very casually, when I overheard friends were talking, actor friends were talking about how, you know, today followers are something that people are looking at sometimes when they're casting, right?
Yeah, it's moronic.
So this is a discussion they were having.
Yeah.
So I just casually tweeted that...
Of course you're casually tweet. You don't be like, let me tweet.
No, but it's not like, okay, now let me tie my hair, let me tweet.
Yeah.
No. Casually would be like, chips, yeah. But I just said that, you know, actors should not be made to feel like they need to have a certain social media following to be considered for parts. And I wasn't really talking about myself. Maybe it came across like that.
Sure.
I was just generally saying...
Making an observation, yeah.
And what I also meant, I never said that I discount the importance of social media. All I meant is, if as an actor you choose not to, that shouldn't
be okay.
That shouldn't be the one thing coming in your way. So many people have retweeted. I was getting uncomfortable with how much attention that tweet was getting. At one point, I was like, wait, should I delete it? Because I don't want so much attention on it. I was like, no, it's all right.
You don't want to be in television news also, prime time. Oh, dekhiye, actor Shriya Pilgaonkar ne kya tweet kiya hai aaj?
No. Thankfully, वैसा कुछ तो था ही नहीं. But that tweet got a lot of attention because I think a lot of people resonated with that thought, and in fact from other professions as well. And a lot of people also said to me that, you know, that's a part of the business now, accepted. And I think sometimes what happens is on social media, you can't have a conversation unless you're speaking. There is no conversation. So hence I'm someone who hesitates to say much, because I'm never going to be able to express myself until you give me that time to really...
Or write a column or write
something,
an essay.
Exactly. So in 2-3 lines, with a story, with a post, you don't necessarily express yourself. So...
What do you think about it though? I mean, it's a fact, isn't it? And I don't know, I see a lot of social media influencers in general life, and it's a tough job, yeah. You wake up in the morning and you keep thinking about what to take, like, you know, you're not living your life.
No, it's a legit profession.
Yeah.
And nobody should look down upon it at all, because I do notice sometimes people end up... It's that same debate, right? Like content creators, should they act, should they not act? I feel like if you're a good actor, no matter what you do, you should act. I mean, that's fine. That's absolutely okay. But it's just that the pressure of... I mean, if you choose not to do it, that shouldn't come in the way, basically. But yes, I think you also have to be relevant and, you know, keep evolving with time. And social media is part of the branding process. So I have to give it attention, but I do it just as much as that would not stress me out.
Right. You don't wake up in the morning thinking, now how do I become data today?
No, I don't. Maybe at some point I feel like, okay, let me, maybe I want to start a YouTube channel. Then I'll get people to guide me, because that's a different skill set.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody,
yeah.
right? It's a different skill set, and you need to be passionate enough, and it's hard work. It's a lot of work. And the only reason why I tweeted that, Mayank, is because what I noticed is, when I meet young actors, and when perhaps they want to know how to start off, advise this, that, I feel like a lot of them are not really focusing on working on their skills, or maybe workshops or training, but it's more about Instagram. That got me thinking that, man, what is this message coming out? You need to, all of the following and stuff will be, it'll happen. That'll happen. Maybe I'm old school, idealistic in this way. There has to be a balance, but this is what I think.
Well, I'm just saying, for instance, there are two people who are equal in, I don't know how you quantify it, but let's say they're two equal for the same part. Good chances are that the person with higher following may actually get that part. You think?
Yeah, but also depends who the makers are and what they think of it. But isn't that also how your big films are cast? They're looking at people who get you those numbers, right?
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong in that. If the person is talented, I would say. And eventually, look, that creative, this is an endless debate, because that creative freedom will always be there to the makers, the directors. They can really take whoever they want to.
Exactly.
Eventually, it's also about the audience accepting. Let's take Bhuvan's example. Bhuvan did a fantastic job in Taza Khabar. He's really worked hard. I've witnessed that journey.
Yeah.
So nobody can ever look at him and say that you don't deserve this, because he's created this story for himself. It's his production. He took that ownership. He did it, and he did a good job.
Yeah, it was a very regular Bollywood production.
Yeah, and he used that platform. Exactly.
From 10 years ago.
He used that platform. He'll be very happy to hear that, I'm guessing. He used that platform and created something for himself, That's great. That's inspiring, in fact.
So the other pitfall of fame, perhaps, is, and you can't help it, is a lot of attention towards your private life, because you're a public figure. Is that something that has bothered you so far?
No, I haven't really. I'm quite private as a person. So, in general.
When they ask you, who are you dating?
Sometimes they do, but I.
Okay, I'm asking you, who are you dating?
I'm not going to say anything.
What?
Am I dating or not dating? That's also the question. Yeah. No.
Wait, so by the way, we're recording this conversation on Feb 13th. My question to you is, what are you doing on Feb 14th?
I am not a Valentine's Day celebrating person at all. Like, I'm actually not doing anything tomorrow. If somebody does something for me, great, but I'm actively not doing anything.
So is that an answer? Like, you don't have a date on?
No, I don't have a date. Tomorrow someone turns up, maybe that becomes a date. There's no date.
Well, yeah, just the phone number is right below. You can just call her, text her.
And you will be blocked.
To end this amazing conversation, Shriya, because we are talking about dating and we're talking about Valentine's Day. One of the things that
suddenly we are talking about Valentine's Day.
No, we're not. No, I want to play a social experiment on you, because one of the things that I've realized, and this is from a lot of female friends of mine, they go on their first dates and it does not turn out to be great. And what happens is they don't know what to say to each other. Like, you just sitting there and maybe not interested in person, but now what do you do, because you're already in a restaurant, you're already at a bar, right? So what I'm trying to put together is a questionnaire eventually. What will hopefully become a questionnaire of stuff you should talk about, because everyone has a story on that question. Okay?
Unfortunately, before you ask me, so I haven't really, I have not really.
You've never been on a date in your life?
No, I have. But it's just been long relationships as such. So it's not like, okay, Friday today I'm going on a date. It's not really been that kind of active dating, because all these stories I get from my friends. Like,
those are dating app stories.
I haven't ever used a dating app.
You've never used a dating app.
So I don't know how I would be able to answer.
No, that's not what it is.
Okay.
It's got nothing to do with it.
Okay, done.
I am trying to put together a question.
Okay, done.
Okay? And basically, I want you to try and remember something. And it's literally just 3 questions so far. I have on a questionnaire. Okay. I may remove these questions because they may not always elicit a story, right? For instance, and this can change from person to person. One, do you remember if you ever did, and if you did, come closest to death?
It's a
deep
tough question.
Yeah. No, so this is because the date is going nowhere. About death, so now let's talk about, like, for instance, I'll tell you, like, I felt closest to death recently when I had dengue fever. And I'm like, oh my God, like, can this kill me?
Like this thought of
yeah.
Okay.
And it need not be dramatic. It need not be that you were in an accident where it was life or death. It was like anytime I thought, "Arey yaar, shit, can this lead to that?"
Well, then, actual death would be when I was really young. I was on. Besides one time when I got like dengue again,
You got dengue as well?
Yeah. I had something called neutropenia where my WBCs were killing themselves. They were going mad and just like eating each other up.
Yeah.
And it was scary. I was really weak, and I felt like, wow, am I like slipping away?
Yeah.
But actually, it's actually funny when I think about it. But when I was, I think, 7 years old, mom, dad, and I, we were on dad's film shoot, and we were in a place called Markara in Karnataka, and a very small town. The hotel was really small, and during New Year's, there were some people who wanted to be part of this party, our private party, and they were like drunk, and they were locals, like hooligans basically. And we politely said no, and they got pissed off, and they called their gang members. And mom and I are sitting in this banquet. I remember I was eating tomato soup with croutons in it, and suddenly I see that the glass door is being broken by swords.
Wow.
Swords, and people in slow motion are coming towards my mom and I. I remember this, and my mom took my hand and took me under a table where you could see us, and I remember taking my mom out. So that visual, like for a month after that, matlab main Hanuman Chalisa se leke sab kuch while sleeping, I would be like saying all these things because I had nightmares after that.
That, my friend, is a scene from Mirzapur.
Yes!
For God's sake!
Yes, that is. Well, fortunately, I came out alive in this one, and Mirzapur I didn't.
Yeah! Of course, at the time when you were signing up for Mirzapur, you didn't know it's going to turn out to be that huge, right? It's like, it's a thing, it's a religion of its own.
Changed things for me completely.
Completely. It's like a turning point in your career.
Completely. In fact, for me, Mirzapur and Guilty Minds, Mirzapur is what gave me a sense of the taste of fame. Pan-India fame, where no matter what, everyone's watched Mirzapur, right? And the love that Sweetie Gupta, or this chemistry between Guddu Sweetie, to date, no matter what I do, the Sweetie love will be there, and it's beautiful, you know. I don't get annoyed by it or anything like that. I love it. And then with Guilty Minds, it was a different kind of, stability, and, I was seen as an actor, and, critical appreciation and all of that. So both of these things are very important. And through all of this, there's just been like one thing in my mind always, that I've always wanted an opportunity to dance on screen, to do that out and out shebang, right? And very recently, in fact, film is not announced yet, but MA Entertainment is producing it, and I shot for my first out and out big song.
Like an item song.
Item song nahi hai, but full dhamal.
Like backdrop, the works.
The works. And I feel like that aspect of me hasn't
been
come out yet, been explored yet.
Yeah.
And that's my struggle, to now say that, okay, hey, I've done this, but I'm also capable of this, like don't bracket me into just one thing. So I take it as my own responsibility and my own hard work, wherein I have to keep breaking these labels and boxes that people might try to put me in.
Okay, coming to my second question, right?
Death has happened.
Yes. So the next one is most memorable encounter with a celebrity.
Before I became an actor, I was assisting Megha Ramaswamy on a short film.
Okay.
And we were at YRF. And Shimit Amin
is the husband of
yeah,
Megha's.
so she knows Shahrukh, so he happened to be there, and I was completely, how assistants like carrying 4-5 things, doing my thing, and he was there, and I said, oh, Shahrukh, I'd love to meet him. She said, I'm going to say hi, come. And I went, and Megha said hi to him, and then she introduced me, saying, this is Shriya Pilgaonkar, and I said hi, and he shook my hand, and he said, MashaAllah, so beautiful. I died. I said, Shahrukh, I said, I'm beautiful. My confidence was next level. And I was sweating. I was like dripping, but I was so charmed. And then when I met him as an actor, I said, Shahrukh, I really want to say that you said I was beautiful.
What do you think now?
What do you think now? No, but it was really like sweet for me.
How did you land that role though?
auditioned at YRF.
How many people did they pick you from?
So actually, I was auditioning at YRF for 3 months, and in fact, I was
Like
also
different roles, it doesn't matter?
Yeah, so I wouldn't know what I'm auditioning for, but I was constantly auditioning for different things, and sometimes I was also in scenes giving cues for the male actors, and I would want to do that because I felt like at least someone will see me on tape, right? The more I'm seen on tape, the more it'll help. The casting director would say, do you want to come do it? It'll be good. I said, yeah, okay, sure, why not? I think one of those tapes that were not meant for me, and I was more relaxed, you know, it's not meant for you, so I was just like going with the flow, I was relaxed. I think that is what Manish Sharma and Adi sir saw. And I remember Shanu calling me, it was really late in the night, and all these things are always like one late in the night, one phone call comes, right? You need a drama story. And when she told me, I couldn't believe it. It didn't sink. I just went and I told my parents, I said, they're asking me to be part of a film wherein I'm playing Shah Rukh's love interest. I said it, I didn't even wait for the reaction. I shut the door. And I said, wait, what is this really happening? Amazing. Amazing, yeah.
That's crazy. Last one. Do you think this question will work in a conversation where, you know, it'll get two people chatting? There's a bit about, I think everyone has a favorite.
Yeah, but I feel like
moment,
this would be a one-way conversation because not everybody might have had a celebrity encounter.
यार बॉम्बे में तो
बॉम्बे में ठीक है, आपने ये नहीं बताया, आपने रीजन स्पेसिफिक।
नहीं, मैं तो मेरे सारे दोस्त तो डेट बॉम्बे में कर रहे हैं ना।
अच्छा,
मैं कौन सा मैं उनको कहीं और भेज रहा हूँ।
A question that is always would be fun to ask is something like, tell me a question that you would like me to ask you. I like that. No, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay.
In a sense, what about you? Do you want to tell me that is not an obvious thing? I wouldn't ask it this way, but I mean, you know, something like that.
Okay, so Shriya, my question to you is,
God,
what is the one question you'd like me to ask you?
I'm not answering this
question. See, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
We're not on a date, Mayank.
Damn, I was just trying my luck. Your most fun or craziest drunken moment or night?
Ooh, when you said most fun, I just...
or crazy. Doesn't have to be fun.
No,
sometimes
actually you said most fun right now and I didn't hear the drunken part, and the first visual I had, I did skydiving recently.
Oh, wow.
So I have... That was like the
That's
most
intoxication
incredible.
too.
Oh my God, yes.
Right?
But drunken moment, I'll say, recently, oh my God, I don't know if I'll get into trouble saying this. But I was there at the MCG watching the India-Pakistan match, and it was my first cricket match.
Okay.
And now I'm spoiled because you know, Australia Tourism has invited you there, and it's your first cricket match, and what a match to you know have witnessed live. And you know how that match was, right? It was crazy, and the last over was so important, and we didn't know if you were losing or not. And in that like special box, you know, there were drinks, and you know, it's cold. You want to have some wine, and like 2-3 glasses are enough for me to get me drunk. And at some point I didn't realize I was drunk sitting in that box trying to pray for India. And at some point when I had a sip, chakka maar diya, ya fo kar diya. So after that everyone has become superstitious. So now everyone has given instructions in that box. Whatever you were doing, you need to do that. So people are standing. And what am I doing? Just taking sips. So eventually I got smashed by the end of that. But India won.
India won, and well, I have to say, on a winning note,
yes.
I wish you the best for the 2022 Hitlist OTT Awards.
2023.
2023 for content from 2022. If you keep correcting me, you won't get any votes.
Oh, damn! Whatever you say, 22.
22
we call it
content,
22,
23K awards. Please vote for Shriya Pilgaonkar because you have two choices in the same category. Best lead actor female. You deserve it. Thank you so much, Shriya, for joining us.
Thank you, Mayank. It was a pleasure.
Yay!
Yay!
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.